everybody, and welcome to episode 30 of the Rise of Dragons podcast. My name is Robert Blanchard, but my friends call me Bobby. And as of 2 days ago, I am officially on vacation, finally. I don't know how many of you have seen The Last Dance, which was the Netflix documentary on the 1998 Chicago Bulls. There is a episode where they talked about where the Bulls faced the Indiana Pacers in the 1998 Eastern Conference Finals. And there was a game that came down to the last seconds. And Reggie Miller ran over, shoved Michael Jordan pretty hard, and ran over to take the pass and hit the three-point shot and win the game for the Pacers. In the interview, he was like, I kind of ran over and lightly, I mean, it's cool because Jordan would have done the same thing in same circumstances. So, you know, it is what it is. But that's kind of what I think about when I talk about my manager playfully nudged me into taking this vacation. And it was lightly. It was, she didn't, I'm not being forced. I'm not, none of that stuff. But I have talked about how she was having a conversation with one of the other managers about how I was one of the only managers that hadn't taken a break yet. And I had no plans to take a vacation my first year as a manager, but I was getting really tired really quickly. And I got to thinking a little bit later, too, that I haven't been a manager that long, but I did also have the MIT stuff before that, and sometime before that with, let's just say, someone in charge who was not really up to the task. So it was a very, very exhausting period of time. So I think that I was more than ready to take a break. So for basically 8.5 days, I can not think about work and just relax a little bit. I did get a call from my boss, Candy, on the last day of work, and she said, if I don't see you before then, enjoy your vacation. Turn your phone off. Turn your messages off. Do not access your work email on the phone, which I don't know how to do anyway, but one of the other managers figured out how. So I'm like, I don't know how to do that anyway. So, and just enjoy your vacation. Get away from it all and just, clear your head as much as possible and take a break. And it was very, very sweet of her to say that. And I'm very, very lucky to have a boss that cares very much about the work-life balance of the managers. So I am taking full advantage of that. I've kind of gone a step further, and I don't bring my phone with me everywhere I've been going. So I am staying as far away from the phone as humanly possible. So everyone knows I hate phone calls anyways. I'm a texting kind of guy. Phone calls are like an anxiety trigger for me. So, but as a manager, I've had to learn how to deal with that a little bit better. So, phone calls are kind of part of the job. So it is what it is. But yes, I'm on vacation now, and I'm very happy with it. It's nice to have a chance to relax and recharge the batteries a little bit and just get away from everything. And I have great people. I have a great team over there, and I have June over there who's in charge and handling things, and I have Rachel as the covering manager. So everything's in good hands. I'm not at all worried about that. So that is a very good thing. But this is episode 30 of the Rise of Dragons podcast, and I actually do have a little bit of a writing update this week. Last night, as I'm recording this, I actually did manage to get a little bit of writing done. It was only like 500 words, but before I went to bed. But it was good. It was. I kind of really, I've been really pushing it in my brain that I promised myself I would get this story done. I promised the boys I would get this story done. So I really have to get on it and get moving on it. And this vacation is a perfect opportunity to do that. So, yeah, jumped on the laptop last night and pulled it up, and it's amazing that sometimes you get on there and you really kind of don't know what you're going to write, but then once you start writing, it all just flows right out of you. It just comes out, and it's really kind of an amazing feeling when that happens. It's almost like you're there. And really, for me, when you're writing, you really kind of want to be there. You want to be in that world that you've created. And I think it just makes things easier to describe things and write things the way you want to write them. I have found over the years that I have a much easier time writing dialogue and fight scenes and things like that, rather than exposition and describing things and things like that. That's a little bit tougher for me and requires a lot more thought, but dialogue and fight scenes are it's really easy for me. So, and most of what I wrote last night was dialogue, so it just made it so much easier. And yeah, like I said, it's a funny thing to think about. And as a writer, like I just said, I'm pretty sure it's the same way for most writers, that feeling when you're on and the words are just pouring out onto the paper, and it's a feeling almost unlike anything else. And it's just one of those things that it's those moments that you strive for when you're writing and putting your story down on paper. It's the kind of thing that you want to happen more often than not, but it doesn't really always work out that way. Any writer knows the pain of sitting in front of your computer and in front of a blank page and just nothing coming to your brain at all. Those are very, very difficult times, and sometimes it's really difficult to get the creative juices flowing. But I don't know that I really have an answer to that. I may or may not have talked about that before, but for me, I tend to think about my writing as much as possible, generally before I go to sleep at night. It actually helps me sleep, which is not to say that I think my writing is boring and it just puts me to sleep, but I think it's just kind of relaxing, and thinking about what I want to write next helps me a lot. The next time I want to write, I just put it down on paper. So for me, I think it's a pretty good writing tip. I have said that before, I think, to always be thinking about your writing. My friend Mike gave me that advice, and it's some of the best advice I've ever received as far as writing goes. So yeah, it's advice I've taken to heart, and it's become very, very important. And yeah, so when I'm laying in bed at night trying to fall asleep, which for me is very difficult to do anyways, I'm typically thinking about my writing and what I'm writing at that particular time, and the next parts that I want to write, and where I'm going with the story. And it just helps me map out things a lot easier and a lot better. So yeah, I think that's just, again, it's advice I've given before, but it doesn't hurt to to repeat that advice, and maybe someone who hasn't heard it before can latch onto it and make use of it, and hopefully it can help them in their writing journey. So yeah, hopefully that helps somebody. On the YouTube end this week, we have started Resident Evil Requiem on the Bobby's Gaming Lounge live streams. We just did part 3 this past Saturday. That was a fun time. More of my regular audience showed up than I expected to. I knew Christian wasn't going to be there. He had prior engagements. And Aiden is now off to college, so shout out to him too. Aiden has been having a difficult time here and there adjusting to college life and being away from home. And the dorm situation is a little bit difficult for him right now, but that should hopefully change in the next few weeks. He's just hopefully got to stick it out, and things will change in his favor. But but he showed up on the stream for a few minutes because he and his friend Chloe, who is also at the same college, they had gone to a carnival and they happened to be standing in line for the Ferris wheel for like 20 minutes. So he just popped in on the stream, which was really, really cool. After playing most of part 2 or all of part 2 as Grace, I knew we were coming up on a Leon part very soon, and we did, and it was definitely very cleansing and very fun. We fought one of those big giant overweight brutes, which was just so satisfying, as there were shotgun shells everywhere, and everyone knows how much I love my shotguns. It was just fun running around and blasting him in the face and finally putting him away. But yeah, it's nice to have those little palate cleansers in between those very difficult periods with Grace and not having very many bullets. And Grace is not a fighter, it's completely different dynamics, which I think is cool. Grace is more the survival horror element of Resident Evil, and Leon is kind of the arcade shoot 'em up, karate kick 'em kind of thing. So I'm loving the game so far, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where it goes. I will say, on the live stream on part 3, right before the Leon part, there is a part that everyone is probably going to want to check out. That I'm fighting these things called Blister Heads, and I am shooting it with every bullet I have, and I cannot kill it, and it's becoming very frustrating for me. So at one point, after I missed a couple shots, I was like, all right, this isn't going to work. I have to let it kill me and come up with a different plan, And unfortunately, it took almost 2.5 minutes for this Blister Head to kill me as I was standing there doing nothing. It just kept swinging and missing me, during which time I grabbed a book and started reading it out loud on the stream. So, yeah, that was fun times. And then, yeah, it finally killed me, and I read a little bit more of the book, and then I moved on. But, yeah, we're definitely starting to get to the meat and potatoes of the matter. My buddy Vaporish Titan, who is my Resident Evil expert, says I have 3 to 5 hours left after the stream was over. So maybe a stream or 2 left, and then we will be done with Resident Evil Requiem. And I have no idea how this story is going to unfold. Like, none whatsoever. There's a lot of factors of Grace and Leon and Victor Gideon and just all these things coming together. So it's going to be it's going to be very, very interesting down the stretch. They're talking about a mutated T virus, which I think is Victor Gideon is infected with. So, on purpose. Like, he was the one that got experimented on or experimented on himself. I don't really know, but he's an intelligent undead. So yeah, there's going to be some different things happening down the stretch, but the endings to these Resident Evil games have been eye-opening, to say the least. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to Requiem and seeing which way that's going. The Bloodborne Blood Vial run. Last week I faced the Bloodstar Beast for round 2. I could not defeat him in 2 hours in round 1, so we went at him again, and being perfectly honest, it was more of the same. It was more of the same for a long time there. And then finally, one last try, I went for it, and I finally beat him at the end of round 2, which was incredibly satisfying. Like, I was just dying to move on with the game and get on to something else. Bloodborne has been difficult. Like, I've done quite a few, I don't know what to call them. I want to call them no healing runs, but that implies there's no healing at all, which there is, from rings or, different kinds of elements, but it doesn't use the main healing element. That's basically what I'm going for here. I've done quite a few playthroughs like that, and like Dark Souls 3 was not terribly difficult, but it was fun. It was difficult at times, don't get me wrong. I did have struggles with it, but not like I'm having in Bloodborne. Bloodborne is just crazy difficult for me so far, and I'm still in the early stages of the game, so I don't know how it's going to pan out down the stretch, but we're going to try. If you've been watching my stuff, then you know that Dark Souls Remastered got the best of me. I could not beat Ornstein and Smough, and I eventually gave up. I may come back to it at some point after discovering I was probably 11 levels under where I was supposed to be when I fought them. So I may take another stab at that down the line, but for right now, Dark Souls Remastered is the only game that has conquered me so far. Even Sekiro was very, very difficult, but I think it took over 200 tries to beat Ishin. So Bloodborne is proving an arduous task, but I'm determined to stick with it and see where it goes. So as I am recording this, the podcast will probably be up, and then it'll be the Bloodborne live stream right after that. So if you're listening to this right after it came out, you're probably going to want to get on and check out the live stream as we move on to other things in Bloodborne. So yeah, fun times ahead for sure in End of Yharnam. Your Father's Story, I have not done an episode of Your Father's Story in several weeks now. That is something else I intend to accomplish today before the Bloodborne live stream. I've actually had a difficult time getting it going as I've been on vacation. I really just want to do nothing, but I am behind on Your Father's Story, and I really have to get another episode up. So, and I did sort of promise as much on the last Bobby's Gaming Lounge live stream. So, yeah, that's very, very important for me to get that done and get it up by Wednesday. So that is the plan as of right now, is to finally get another episode up and get that off my screen. So yeah, I apologize for that. It's just been a rough go, and even this episode of the podcast is 2 days late, 3 days late, whatever it is. So, yeah, it's been tough for me. To just relax and get things going, but I'm working on it, and I'll be able to get myself in the right frame of mind, hopefully, as we go on here. Speaking of which, the last week's episode of the Rise of Dragons podcast also did not go up on time on YouTube. I just put that up today. It's episode 29. So that is up on YouTube for your listening pleasure. That is, which episode is that? Well, it's episode 29. It's talking about getting back on my feet, I think. So just recovering from all this stuff. It's been weeks and weeks of me talking about, my mental breakdown and recovering from all that. So anyone that knows anything about mental health knows that, it takes time. It takes time to fight through it and get back on the right course. But, I will get there eventually. I always do. It's just a matter of doing it, really. So, I'm working on that right now. I kind of had to really get down and record this episode of the podcast. So, that is very important. And then we're back again for Bobby's Gaming Lounge on Saturday for part 4 of Resident Evil Requiem. That word I cannot pronounce. So, yeah, lots of fun times ahead. For shorts, I put up the short that I was just talking about, that moment where I read a book while waiting for this Blister Head to kill me. I could not wait. I generally try to put up shorts in order of the live streams that go up. I put up a short from the Roblox stream. This commentary is fire, as Abby said on the short. So yeah, and then I have, I think, the Resident Evil 3 speed run that I did, and then something else, I think, and then Resident Evil Requiem. But I skipped ahead, and I had to do this one. So I was just, man, it was just so funny when it was happening. So I was determined to get this one up as soon as possible. So It's up right now, and it's getting a little traction. So we'll have to see how it does when all is said and done. But it was a very funny moment for me. Actually, I think the full uncut clip is funnier than the short. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I had to condense it down to 1 minute, so that was the hard part. But yeah, thought that was a very funny moment. I don't know what was going on with this Blister Head not being able to kill me, but it was almost as bad as me not being able to shoot it. But it had arms and I had a gun. It's weird. So yeah, it just is what it is. So yeah, I think that pretty much it. I think that pretty much covers everything I want to talk about on the podcast this week. Just getting everybody caught up on what's going on the channel, and we're still climbing toward 6,000 subscribers, so that is awesome. The watch times are still good. Still picking up subs every single week, so that is amazing, and I appreciate you guys so much for that. Again, even as my schedule has fallen off and I slipped a little bit, the sub counts are still there and the watch times are still there. So that means that some of you are engaged, and I very, very much appreciate it. Hopefully you'll hang in there with me for a little while longer while I get back on schedule, and that should be sooner rather than later. But until then, I'm just gonna keep doing my thing. I have my mental health to think about too, and if I have to take it slow for a little bit and get back into it gradually, that's what I'm gonna do. But I think most people around me would prefer that I do it that way rather than rush back into it and let myself be damaged all over again. But yeah, I think everything's gonna be okay. It's just I'm just tired is all that's going on, and this vacation is supposed to help me recover from that, so hopefully it does. So far the sleeping schedule has not agreed with me fully, but that's not entirely unusual, so it is what it is. It's up to me to find a way to get around that and deal with that. So yeah, I want to thank everybody for sticking with me, and the love and support and all that stuff. I appreciate it as always. It means a lot to me, and as long as it's there, I'm going to keep continuing to do what I do. And Abby dropped in on last week's live stream too, all the way from her college, like 4 hours away. So she is a very big supporter of what I do, and that means a lot to me. And it always means a lot to me when everyone keeps dropping in and just wanting to hang out and we have fun, and that's what it's all about. It's all about everyone having fun, and just hopefully I can entertain you guys for hours and hours at a time. It may or may not be questionable, but I think it's funny. Actually, Abby dropped in while I was reading that book when I was waiting for that Blister Head to kill me, and she's like, "Why are you reading a book?" Like, I'm waiting for this freaking thing to kill me, and it's taking forever. Like, so yeah, that was a funny aside, and I appreciate Abby very much, and I miss her dearly, and I miss Aiden, and I miss everybody. I will see Aiden later this week, so that'll be a good thing. But yeah, a lot of changes right now, and it's been very difficult, but everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay in the end, and we all just have to fight through and come out stronger on the other side. But until then, again, like I said, I love you all, and I appreciate you all, and I hope everyone has an amazing week. Be good to everybody out there. Be good to yourselves, and be good to the people around you, and it'll come back to you. There's just not enough good in the world. This world needs a lot more good, and it's up to us to provide it. No one else can do it. We have to do it. So yeah, I guess that's my parting message for this week. So until next week, be well, stay safe, And I will see you back here next week for episode 31 of the Rise of Dragons podcast. Until then, take care, guys.